everyone, and welcome to February's Comfort Book Club discussion of The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets by Eva Rice. As always, for the Comfort Book Club, I'm joined by my mum, Donna.
Hello, everyone.
And we're really looking forward to chatting about this book today. Thank you to everyone who sent in a voice message to add to our discussion. It was lovely hearing from you. We've also got a recipe that I'm going to link to in the description box down below, so you can check it out, because I'm sure you can guess which recipe we felt we had to come up with a version for ourselves after reading this book, and that is ginger scones. They have them so often in the story,
and they sound so delicious, and they are so delicious.
They're so good. Yeah. Highly recommended. So yes, do check out the recipe that I've put on my blog, and I hope you enjoy it too. We're not going to eat them right now. We'll enjoy those later.
Yes.
It's so hard to eat and talk at the same time, and I'm sure Talitha would not approve.
No, she wouldn't.
But it's little details like that, the fabulous afternoon teas, how much joy the characters take in things like a really good ginger scone.
Yes.
It's those little details that are part of what make this book such a brilliant comfort read for me. Would you agree?
Absolutely. That everything's so well rounded, the setting, the characters. You really feel like you know the people in this book and the place and everything that happens. I can picture Aunt Claire's flat with the very sort of almost warm, stuffy room that they have their afternoon tea in, and things like that. It's lovely.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I love all of those little details too. They just make this book extra comforting to me. And one of our readers, Ruth, sent in a voice message about how much she loves the level of joy the characters take in pleasures that might be easily mocked. You know, things like their enjoyment of music, pop music in particular, but even things like enjoying afternoon tea and like little pleasures like that. So let's listen to Ruth's message.
Hi, Miranda and Donna. This is Ruth from Lancaster. The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets has been one of my all-time favourite novels, and it's been magical to reread it again. It is such a confidently joyful book. I love how it celebrates things that might have a tendency to be undeservedly mocked. Female friendship, obsession with musicians, wonderful old buildings, and the optimism of youth. I love how Charlotte and Penelope and Eva Rice are so confident in the things that they love. It's been an inspiration to me to always take my passions seriously. Thanks again for such a wonderful pick this month.
Oh, thank you, Ruth.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
And I love how the book sort of inspires you to take your passions seriously. I think that's such a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that Eva Rice thanks in the acknowledgements Ruby Ferguson. And it came up that she's actually was and is probably a huge pony fan, you know, a pony book fan. And she loved the Jill books. And I think there she is, like, really able in this book to sort of, you know, she has Banjo, her horse, who she loves to go feed the apple to and everything. And I just love the fact that she's so enthusiastic about everything through her characters, that she gives them this background, that the music stuff, I'm sure maybe her father's Tim Rice, isn't it? You know, the famous musician. And I'm sure she gets a lot of the music background from her own background. And you just feel it's so genuine.
Yes,
you know, everything that she talks about.
Yes, you do. And yes, I loved reading that she was a big fan of Ruby Ferguson, because I grew up reading the Jill pony books as well, and loved them so much.
Me too.
I mean, as you can tell from the shelves behind me, I take my passion for vintage children's literature very seriously still. So I always love to hear of writers who also loved some of these sort of childhood books. And I really enjoyed the sense of nostalgia that runs through the novel as well.
Absolutely.
It was so interesting to read about post-war Britain in the 1950s.
Yes.
I thought she got so much of the period detail really right.
Yes, I did
You felt
too.
you were back there in that world.
You did. And I mean, we didn't live through it at all, but it felt so authentic. She obviously did a lot of work on that.
Yes.
And I loved like the details of like pre-Elvis music that, you know, in that period.
Yes, Johnny Ray.
Johnny
like
Ray.
we tried listening to a bit and have to say we're not such fans. We'll take Elvis over him for sure. But that was so interesting though. And I think you could make such a fun soundtrack in a way to like, go with the book.
Absolutely.
Which is just such a fun thing. I really like that.
Yeah.
And it was just so interesting reading about their fascination for all things American in that way, and what a huge influence America had, and the type of music and everything.
Yes, and the exotic influence that well, they had from like Marina and from Rocky.
Yes.
These American characters who come and sweep them off their feet in so many
do.
ways.
It just seemed like so glamorous. And I thought that was really well done, and it reminded me of so many of the books that I'm sure are common loves amongst so many of us as well. Books like The Pursuit of Love and I Capture the Castle. I mean, I thought I Capture the Castle was quite an inspiration.
I'm sure it was.
To Eva Rice. I mean, there was a lot of similarity between them. The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets is definitely its own book in itself.
It's amazing in that, actually. It really stands firmly on its own merits. And it, in its own way, it's just as good as I Capture the Castle. Maybe that's a bit of a...
No, I think you're right.
I think
it is. And definitely, if you love Dodie Smith's book, I Capture the Castle, then absolutely The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets is one to try. I mean, they're both real coming of age stories about a young girl, both written in the first person, both in some sort of crumbling home with eccentric family members. And it's just done so well. In I Capture the Castle, the heroine has a really close relationship with her sister,
Rose.
But in The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets, Penelope has her brother Inigo, but Charlotte is really like a sister to her.
She is.
They sort of say that at one point, even.
They do. She's the sister she never had, sort of thing, and I think that's charming, and it does bring it back. And I feel too, The Pursuit of Love is another one you could mention. Perhaps less so, but it's definitely there as well.
Yes, definitely with the eccentric English upper classes represented.
And again, the house.
Yes, exactly. So all these threads that we enjoy from so many comfort reads, and I loved that you sort of saw them present in this book. That makes it very special.
It does. It's really enjoyable.
And another sort of interesting comparison between The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets and I Capture the Castle is that both books in some ways capture this feeling of nostalgia. We were talking about I Capture the Castle, 'cause that of course is our upcoming Seasons of Story spring read, and it was actually written during the war but is set in the 1930s. So Dodie Smith herself was definitely looking back with a sense of nostalgia to better times. And this book is very much concerned with the 1950s and the big changes that came post-war. And you really see some of those changes reflected. Like teenagers were becoming much more teenagers.
They were.
as we have an understanding of them these days.
Yeah, and the fashion change from the sort of really sort of, very plain utilitarian to almost fashion of the war, to the lovely Dior dresses.
Yes, and the new look.
And also the way that they want to buy things, the girls. They want stuff,
and the magazines that they love, the music. But yes, I loved all the description of the dresses, the clothes in it. One of my absolute favourite parts in the book is when Harry acts as a fairy godmother to
Yes,
Penelope
yes.
and has the shoes and the dress and the bag
Yes.
all picked out for her. I think
Yeah.
that's just such a fabulous
And I love
moment.
that was saved.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, saved from the wreckage at the end, but sort of thinking of the house. That I think is very much a nod to another favourite book, of course, which is Rebecca.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the ending definitely reflects the ending of Rebecca. And I think that just the idea too of the house being a character in its own right.
It feels like it. You can tell they feel overwhelmed living in this house. There's so many interesting thoughts about what it's like to have to not visit a house like that, but to actually live in it, and how hard it is sometimes to maintain an identity different from that of the the person that's there to take care of this beautiful
yes,
home.
Exactly. And one of our readers, Myriam, sent in a message about how much she enjoyed the characters in the book, but also how she felt the house was a real character in its own right as well. So let's hear Miriam's message.
Hi, Miranda, Donna, and all the Comfort Book Club folks. I'm Myriam from California, and I just loved The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets. I love stories about women's friendship anyway, and Charlotte seems to have come into Penelope's life like at the exact time. And the characters were believable and likable, except for maybe Harry, who I was kind of on the fence with back and forth. Sometimes I liked him, sometimes he was annoying. And I love how the author even turned the Magna House into its own character. Both Harry and Charlotte, for example, thought the house was fascinating, while Penelope equated the house with comfort, security, and dad. But the quote secret at the end was that the Magna House was like a ball and chain for Penelope's mom, who just couldn't get on with her life as long as she still lived in the house. My favorite character was Rocky. He seemed to swoop right in whenever he was most needed. All in all, it's a great book, easy to read, hard to put down, and I'm going to check out some of Eva Rice's other books. Thanks again for this great choice.
Oh, thank you, Myriam.
Thank you, Myriam. Yes.
And yes, I mean, I think everyone would like a Rocky in their life.
Absolutely. Yes.
But something I found really interesting about the book is, at least for me, I felt my opinions and my understanding of some of the characters, especially Harry and Talitha, changed through reading the book. I think I found Harry a bit annoying as well at the beginning, but by the end, I actually really liked him a lot as a character. And like Penelope, by the end, you realise he's actually a very kind person. And I think that was an interesting aspect of how well fleshed out all of the characters in the books were, because sometimes your opinion changed of Talitha as well, I think.
Absolutely. Just as, because we see it all through the eyes of Penelope. It's first person narration by Penelope. So we're limited in we don't know these things about Harry and Talitha till she knows them. And that her discoveries become ours too. And I think you're right. It's a wonderful way of how we identify with her and what she learns. And then it's this fabulous sort of change in opinion that's we know is coming in a way. You feel it coming, don't you? But it's nice when it sort of all happens.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad that you're also inspired to maybe read some more of Eva Rice's books. One I really want to read myself is The Misinterpretation of Tara Jupp, because apparently this one features some of the same characters. I think especially maybe Inigo from The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets. So you might want to check out this one too. But yes, happily she's written quite a few other books, and I do want to explore more of them, because for some reason I never have done and I think I really should.
I think that just blew me away when I first read it, this book, and I didn't really think there would be anything else like it, so I didn't sort of, also there was quite a big gap between her books, so perhaps that was why too. But now I'm very eager to read that one as well.
Want to explore more. And also another thing that is worth pointing out, because I just have this very old paperback copy now. But you read it again on your Kindle.
I did.
And I think it was the 10th anniversary edition.
Yes.
And that has a little short story in it all about how Talitha and Archie first meet, and it's really well worth reading. I read
charming.
it on the Kindle.
And
there's a foreword by Miranda Hart that's just very short, but also that's nice to the 10th anniversary edition. So if you're interested in reading about Talitha and Archie's first meeting, then do check out this edition, which obviously you can get on Kindle.
Yes.
Which is quite handy, because I loved hearing just that little bit more about these characters.
Well, yes, because so much is made of that initial meeting, isn't it?
I love that he's the one that faints away.
Yes.
That's such a funny detail.
Yes, it is.
But speaking of Harry as well, Harry and Penelope, another Comfort Book Club reader, Laura, actually chose a scene between Harry and Penelope as one of her favourite moments in the book. So let's listen to Laura's message.
Hello Miranda, hello Donna, this is Laura from Italy. The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets is definitely going to find a place on my list of favorite books. I loved everything in it. The setting, Penelope's beautiful crumbling house, Aunt Claire's flat, the Ritz, and the characters so incredibly well drawn. But I especially loved some unforgettable moments in the story, such as when Penelope and Harry spend a stormy afternoon in the long gallery. He plays magic tricks with the doves, they have a picnic on the floor, and they talk and talk. There is a beautiful sentence describing the atmosphere. Something hung in the air between us, something so delicate that anything other than lying as still as statues and whispering felt like a threat to it. It was such a pleasure to read this novel. Thank you, Miranda.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
So glad you enjoyed the book, and I love that scene in it.
I did
well.
too. When they lie down, it's like they're on a ship.
Yes.
I loved that.
Yeah, it was so atmospheric, and I really enjoyed seeing Penelope and Harry's relationship develop through the book. But I have to say that I also loved the way that Eva Rice made, I think, quite a brave decision in some ways, in that she really lets Penelope remain a teenager, remain a young girl for really the majority of the book.
Yes.
And some of those struggles mean that she has trouble realizing the difference between what's real love and what are her crushes.
Yeah.
And I love that Eva Rice keeps her young in that way.
Yes.
That at first she can't see Harry's good points at all, and she thinks, Johnny Ray is so much better, and she still has her little teenage dreams about his pop star. Though I think it's a wonderful moment when Harry gives her and Charlotte these tickets that make seeing Johnny Ray in London this incredible experience for both of them, and Penelope in particular. He has that kind of understanding that she's still very young. And I really liked that about the book. I think more modern kind of books like
would have rushed the romance.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
I think so. And I liked that wasn't rushed in this book, and it's a true kind of coming of age in a way.
It is
in that way, because you see her going through trying to figure out what her emotions really are, what's a crush and what isn't a crush.
And I think we see some of that with Charlotte as well, her relationship with Andy the Ted, and, and also with Christopher, she starts to blush when she talks about him at some point. I love that one detail about how they Penelope says, she tried to always madly wriggle her toes when to try and stop
herself from blushing.
It's a sort of silly thing. As a teenager, you might actually believe that would help.
Yes. And I liked the way that both Penelope and Charlotte are kind of at the same level. Like, female friendship is so important in this book. But I love the way they both have a crush on Johnny Ray. And they just enjoy that about each other. And you feel like they have this real enjoyment of their youth, of their teenage years as well. And I like that that's not rushed through in this book. It's kind of really savoured and so appreciated.
Too.
And it's partly, I think, what just makes it a really sweet.
And at the end, when Penelope and Harry are in the cafe, and there's a line like, "Oh, she wouldn't have even noticed if I don't know if it was Johnny Ray or Elvis at that point, but if he had walked in, you know." And you think, "Oh yes, it's a little bit of a change."
Exactly. I mean, she's grown up a lot, kind of by the end of the book, and I think I would have liked a little bit more of Harry's side of things and his perspective at the end of the story. But like you said, you really only keep seeing events through Penelope's eyes. And I almost feel at this stage, when she has recognized by the end what her true feelings for Harry are, and you really see the love sort of starting to blossom, she almost wants to keep that a little bit secret.
I think that too.
You know, at the end she doesn't share too much, and the book ends there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's this precious secret she wants to keep to herself.
It is, and I feel like, again, with the Capture the Castle, at the end there's still a lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
It's the diary ends with what she says, and you don't know what the future will hold.
Exactly.
And I love the way that it's hinted at.
Yes, but it's not sort of spelt out.
No.
But of course the book is very much concerned with secrets. And again, I think too that this preoccupation with sort of secrets in the story partly reflects how to children and teenagers, the adult world can feel so sort of secretive and mysterious.
Yes.
And again, I think as Penelope and Charlotte sort of grow up a bit through the book, by the end, they discover what some of these secrets are in the adult world. But by the end of the book, they're able to understand them.
Yes, they
and
are.
accept them as well.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done.
It was, and it really affects the relationship with Penelope and her mother too. She begins to understand a lot more.
Yes, exactly.
And
I think that's another way that Talitha becomes a lot more likable through the book. And by the end, you feel so sorry for her, really. And you're really glad she gets a happy ending.
Yes, very much.
Another theme that we wanted to talk about, probably quite predictably, is that of mothers and daughters.
Absolutely. The way Talitha really understands that she needs to have a lovely new dress for when, you know, she's going to a party, and there's these wonderful moments too. And I think this is another book, I think like a Capture the Castle, The Pursuit of Love, that mothers recommend to their daughters. I know I read it, and I said to you, you're going to love this book. You have to read it.
Yeah, it's true. It definitely is that kind of book that follows in that tradition. Georgette Hare as well is another classic one.
Yeah.
And there is a very interesting mother-daughter relationship. And Charlotte, you feel the most sorry for in some ways, because she really doesn't have a good relationship with her mother, but she has Aunt Claire, who was such a lovely motherly figure to both of the girls.
Very much. I mean, at one point she says, my other mother, or something of Aunt Claire, and I think there really is, that's the sort of the mother of her heart, perhaps.
That's a really nice way of putting it. And yes, like we said too, Penelope just grows to understand her own mother so much more, and her mother certainly isn't shown as faultless at all. She's got a lot of faults and can be quite annoying, but she's got a lot of charm to her as well. And you just so much wish for Talitha to be happy as well by the end of the book. So it's got a really satisfying ending.
It's very satisfying, isn't it?
But finally too, I think one of the preoccupations of The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets is this idea of timing and how you can meet the sort of right person at the right moment in your life, and this single meeting will change your whole life forever. That's how the book starts out. And I love that. And another of our Comfort Book Club readers, Cristina, sent in a message where she obviously felt too that this book came to her at the right moment in her life, which I thought was lovely, because I think that's so true that books sometimes also just enter your life at the right moment, just as much as people do.
Yes.
So let's hear Christina's message.
Good afternoon, Miranda, Donna, and all the members of the Comfort Book Club. I've been thinking a lot about what to tell you in my voice message. Even I went for help to Miranda webpage and see what we can talk about. Post your impressions, share your favorite moment, interesting theme, or general reaction to the book, Miranda says. What to say? Never a book has spoken me so loud and clear. Never in a novel I've had problems to choose my favorite character or quote. To me, the lost art of keeping secrets, has been a complete epiphany, not only in terms of literature, but also, and most important, in terms of my personal life. I will finish with a sentence that Aunt Claire says almost at the end of the novel, and it would be very appropriate for me now that I am so touched by the novel. For goodness sake, Charlotte, get the child some brandy. Miranda, Donna, thank you for this wonderful novel and for letting me know it and the author too. And I also want to thank God for letting me know you too, Miranda and Donna. Goodbye.
Oh, thank you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Cristina.
I'm so glad that
it really spoke to you.
Yes, the book really spoke to you that much. I think that's wonderful. And yes, it is such a fun book.
It's one of the delights of having a book club is sometimes we can give something to someone through our choices that they don't know of, and it becomes a really important book for them too.
Yeah, that is one of the best things, isn't it?
It is.
about sharing the books that we love is when they become books that you love too. That really is absolutely wonderful.
It's
why we do this. But yes, and with that in mind, don't forget that March's Comfort Book Club choice is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. It's been ages since I read this, so I'm really looking forward to returning
I am
it.
too. Yeah, it's such a special book, and like I've read it a few times in my life, and I think again it's one of these books that you pick up something else every time you read it.
Yes, that's so true. So yes, we're looking forward to that, and do read along with us in March. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion today. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in a voice message to add to this discussion. Thanks to everyone who's watched as well. Do let us know what you thought of the book in the comments. And extra big thanks to everyone who pressed the super thanks button on my last video. I always so appreciate your support and the support of people who have joined one of my communities like Seasons of Story or the Bookish Almanac. But also to everyone who supports by watching my videos and pressing the like button and leaving a comment. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you again next weekend. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.